But Monty, hi Monty.
Hi.
DJ, Static, Rude Funk. Do you have a preference? Do you go by preference
Monty.
ever?
Monty.
Were you somebody who documented a lot of stuff back then? Did you keep flyers and
A
anything?
little bit, but I just wanted to record. I recorded a lot of my shows that I had, and as much as Radio Free, but I didn't keep a lot. I didn't have a camera on me at all times. Like not as much as after I left Hawaii. I always had a camera on me when I went to events and things. I always had the VHS cam in my pocket, a big ass thing. But
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I wish that I would have been recording a lot of things that was going on.
And because he's in California with that time difference, I very lucky to catch him in between either your lunch break, which you decide because you're an independent contractor for what you do.
Yeah. I'm in on the northeast section, close to Glendale, but still in LA. And yeah, it's central. I've been around this area northeast for on and off for about 20 years.
What are you seeing? What's the neighborhood right now in 2020, being that everybody's COVID-19 coronavirus, the general mood? Because I follow you on Instagram, and so I see some of your posts when you're driving around and you're showing some of the lines outside of the stores. You know, some people are taking, keeping that physical distancing, not so much. But can you kind of paint a picture of what the mood is in your neighborhood?
It's a mixture of everything, where people are fed up of having to deal with this thing, and then getting used to it, and then seeing people getting used to the face masks. And I think that's probably the most important thing, is seeing people actually have them on them and using them, versus a month ago where people weren't, just whatever, it was going on. They didn't believe it was real until, New York really blew up the way it did. But here in California, it's like they just want it to be over with, not expecting, the long term, if something this lasts for a long term period, which, yeah, everybody's tired of it. But I go to the post office every day, drop orders, and where I keep all my stuff at is in an industrial storage, and there's nobody ever around. So my regular schedule is pretty much the same for the last couple of years. I just wake up, get my orders, go get my packages, don't really see anybody, don't talk to anybody, work on the internet, say hello to people, thank you for purchasing things. And then I have my inventory is brought to me. I'm an online retailer, and it's something that I've been trying to get out of my life. I've been doing it so long that it's just kind of, I'm over it already. I want to be around people.
Yeah, it's normal. I mean, you were very ahead, or maybe kind of current with how eBay is with people have independent inventory and they would post it up. But were you doing that kind of online selling and bulk with retailers pre-eBay, or did that happen at about the same time?
Around 98, 99, I seen it as a way to bring in income. Just, I had a lot of stuff that from moving from Honolulu to LA. And in LA, I saw a void where there was a bunch of stuff. I was out around a guy brand from My Favorite Eggplant from the factory and from Funk Pistol.
Animals ate them.
Yeah, Animals Ate Them. And I came around that time. So they had a clothing company called Fine Clothing, and it turned into Mighty Fine. So I'd go to their sample sales or employee sales, and I'd grab a bunch of stuff, throw it on eBay, wake up the next morning, and it'd be all gone. So I knew that there was some money to be made in it. So I always stayed with music and clothing is so similar, because an album is like the 10 shirts, that you're going to come out this quarter. So it's so similar how to market, how to sell it, and even printing shirts for a purpose to sell. So it was very similar. So I just kept going, and then I stopped, and then I became doing other types of manufacturing, and so I always brought it back. eBay taught me so much, and Amazon too. I'm on Amazon and now Macari. So there's ways for people to make money, especially after the last recession. You don't just have to sit on your ass and wonder why I'm not having a job. You just open your closet, go through your record. It's things that you really probably don't need that you can make extra money. And it speaks for now too, is a lot of people there's a lot more sellers. So buyer sellers. Before there was only buyers. Some people didn't know how to use their computer, and they didn't know how to take a picture. Now you got a phone that you just blast it on there, and Facebook, it's on Macari, it's on Poshmark, it's on eBay, Amazon, anything you want to do, and you can make money by dinner time, you know. Discogs is good. I mean, there is a larger variety than eBay ever has, but it's weird is I'll double list because I have a lot of multiple copies, and then I'll have it the same price on Discogs, and then eBay, it'll take off, you know, and then it'll sit forever on Discogs. So it's weird that, and I get a lot of international buyers on eBay, which in Discogs they don't mess with, I think. So, but Discogs is a great catalog. I found stuff that would never find on eBay, you know, just because people wouldn't sell it or they would sell it for high. And I sell all my records for pretty high. I wait to get the, you know, the best dollar. But I took it all down. I'm reshuffling my stores. I had a record store that I had, record store and electronics. I had studio equipment and electronics and records. And so I took it all down the last few months because I was going to completely stop doing eBay and just do something different. It really got kind of tiring. Just the same routine. It's like the same wheel spinning all the time. So,
like for me, I wanted to travel light. That's why I was able to just, when I finally made another move to where I live now, each time I was like moving places, I was just like, this is ridiculous for me to box up stuff. I didn't want to pay for storage. So that was what was easy to sell, like DVDs and all of my music. And like maybe, I had maybe about a dozen 45s and albums that I kept. But now I'm just like, okay, I'm staying in one place long enough that I'm going to like start buying. For you, because you were DJing for so many years and music, the kind of music that you would collect and share, really obscure titles. Even if you put it in a computer, even if you put it on a thumb drive kind of thing, you still kind of want that record, right?
I didn't convert to digital all the way. I mean, I was early adapter to something called Final Scratch, was before Serato and what everybody's using now, but I had an early version that was done by another company, and I couldn't feel it. The latency wasn't good. I wasn't happy with it. So I went strictly just I'm not doing nightclubs anymore. If I do it, I do it live on the internet. So I would only use vinyl, and I like vinyl. It's something that I grew up with and touching and holding and doing a mix with your hands, and you can get there's definitely a different vibe. So I don't sell my personal records, my stash, which is mostly, I like instrumentals because a lot of people of my generation or within 10 years, they play a lot of the same stuff. So you'll hear a lot of the same hip hop stuff. So I'll look for the weird instrumental, and I just do instrumental mixes, which I was influenced later in the, I'd say early mid 90s, where everybody did their thing, but if I was going to DJ, it was going to be something specific, and it did turn into a lot more instrumentals, and then I started trying to make instrumentals with musical equipment. But yeah, so and I got lucky on one Craigslist. I was looking for some records. I was just typing record lot in Craigslist, and I found a guy who had a record store, and he wanted to get rid of, he didn't want none of this rap stuff. And I saw hip hop rap, it said $50. And I was like, really? And I was like, okay. So I have a van, so I can always get anything I want. I can just go get it. That's how I always keep a van by me. And I went and picked it up, and I was looking through it. I'm like, these are all unplayed, 90s to early 2000s. It was a few thousand records, $50, just get it out of there. I filled up my van, came back, and I was just pulling out records, just $80, $100 records. He didn't even know because he didn't know what the titles were. And so that's what I really got lucky with in the last few years, where I was able to have doubles and triples of Mary J. Blige and all these things that people will pay $30, $40 for one record just because it's unplayed. It hasn't been tampered. It's not dirty. It doesn't have scratches. It won't scratch. I mean, it won't skip. So, you know, I was very lucky on that. And so those are just strange deals that you find sometimes. And if you can get there within 10 minutes, you know, it's yours.
That's so surprising. I mean, well, now that everything is internet related and how much you want to work and dig to identify what an item is or what it could be worth. So,
yeah.
Oh man, I got excited. I'm like, unplayed, mint condition.
Yeah. And then I got a bunch of records that were actually in the piles of all these artists I've never heard of. So it'd be fun to play a bunch of records that no one's ever heard of people like their label put them out, but they never made it. I have hundreds, maybe 1,000 records like that are just so many artists in the 90s that they were just pumping out stuff. And it's
What
some
were
of it
some
is
of the labels?
great.
Do you remember some of the labels?
It's all the big labels. It was none of the indie labels, and it wasn't stuff that
Mm-hmm.
I ever heard. And it wasn't definitely not no house. So most of it was R&B, pop, and
Mm-hmm.
but there's just so many false dreams and hopes of, you know, when you on a record label and you can make a record. I know the feeling where they just say, oh, we found the one out of the 20 that we signed, and we're gonna go with them, and then they put all their efforts into it. So I I have a turntable. It's an Ion, it has USB. Plug it in. I don't even use my 1200s for transferring. So I'm starting to go through some of those and listen to them and just hear how their, you know, the production and things were made. So the unknowns.
Maybe after or during your moped shop on
Yep,
Kapahulu,
yep,
and right about when you joined up with Radio Free Hawaii, that the
yeah.
DJing kind of pocket, and the rude funk, and yeah, how that came to be, because it's it seems it's like really organic when you work at a radio station or a music store, which is how I met a lot of people, and then I would go to clubs. But your instance, you weren't necessarily a club kid because you were working. You had like your own shop and everything, but you had an interest in music. So how did everybody come together?
Well, I got lucky when I was a young kid. My mother, she was working, so I was always interested in I was in the neighborhood in Salt Lake. So it's a little town in itself where you just stay in Salt Lake. And so I was always going to the shopping center, and there was a celebrity tuxedo, and I was cleaning, polishing shoes for celebrity tuxedo after proms. They'd give us like 50 cents a shoe or something crazy. And I saw a new company moving in. It's called Military TV and Stereo, and I ran over there and started helping them unloading the containers, and it was all the stereo equipment. So stereo equipment, and they started selling mopeds, and so I worked there for a long time, many years. It's from my teenage years, early teenage years, all the way up until about 17, and then they went out of business. But I was actually able to mix in the back of the store while I was assembling mopeds. It was the craziest time, and it
Wait,
was a
you were
mid
mixing. You had
'80s.
wait. I'm sorry. I want to make sure I heard you correct. You brought your turntables into the store.
I didn't have to. They were already there. We were the only ones selling turntables in Salt Lake. It was a stereo store, a full stereo
What?
store that sold furniture, mopeds, car
Okay,
stereos,
okay, okay, okay,
jewelry.
okay, okay.
It was for the military where they can just sign up and say, I want to buy all this stuff, and they put it on
Right.
their paycheck, like Rent-A-Center type of thing.
Got
So
it.
they had the first. I remember seeing the first CD player. You know, that was commercials, about $1,000 at the time. I think it was about 82, 83, and just seeing that come out and just be just amazed because we only had one CD to play. And so, but I was still making mixtapes with double decks. I would find, because we get a lot of equipment that was repossessed, so I was able to like use something modern, and I got to play with it because they weren't going to sell it right away because it had to wait till the repossession was over. So I was able to play with all these electronics. And Pay and Save was down the corner of the mall, and they sold records. So my first records came from Pay and Save before I was able to leave Salt Lake. So it was
Yeah.
like early records, and it was mostly mainstream. It was kind of fun. So I would bring the records over, and then I had these mopeds in the store. Can you put them together, and we'll pay you some more money? So I'm putting together mopeds, playing records, learning how to mix on my own, and it went from there. I just couldn't find any way to make money with a young guy with a bunch of records and mixing. So it was naturally that the company that I was working for was going to go out of business. They just couldn't do it in Hawaii. They had Kailua, they had 2 stores in Wahiawa,
Mm.
so in Salt Lake. So I was able to enjoy it for a little while by learning about Wahiawa and choice cuts, and being a young guy going to meet Harris and grab some records that no one even heard of. You know, I wasn't getting records from Pay and Save anymore. I was getting them from Harris and Jellies. So it'd be my Jellies route was on a moped, go to Jellies, and then go up to Wahiawa, and then come back down with all my finds for the day. It was really fun. But so yeah, getting into mopeds was second nature. It was a lot of money. No one was doing it. In Waikiki, they didn't have a person like me, where I started actually as a rescue company. So it was about 1986, 87. I had an early cell phone and had stickers that I'd made, and I stickered all the rental bikes, and the companies were cool with it. They're like, you'll pick them up and you'll literally carry the body
How
sometimes.
smart you.
Yeah,
That's so
so it
smart.
was,
Yeah.
I just built it from that and had fun with it as long as I could. And then I was just around 19, almost 20. I was just kind of tired of getting dirty every day. And of course, the money was amazing. But and then I met a guy that was a customer. His name was Matt Grimm, and he would bring me these flyers for all these club parties he'd have. And I was like, I used to DJ back in the day. And he's like, come hang out with us. And so it was him that pulled my arm into the whole mix, and just seeing what he was doing, being a club kid promoter, and he was well known for doing all types of club kid type events. Not too much hip hop, more industrial, uh, early techno house, type of club
Kind
music.
of
And so
goth
it was
stuff too.
different. Yeah, it was different from what I was, but I respected because I seen how it was made too. So I understood it was the same thing as hip hop. It was just a different organization of melodies and programming for drum machines. So from that time, I sold all my business with the moped industry, and just kept doing this music thing, and it really kind of brought back some of my youth that I lost from working so many years. So that made me feel good. That made me feel good. It was doing music, and then from that, it just happened so quickly. All these doors opened up because no one in Hawaii was facilitating things that were needed for music that they wanted to get to the Pacific. Because, as you know, Golden Voice would grab a lot of shows from going from Japan or Asia, and we would catch them in Hawaii because they'd have to stop through Hawaii on a layover, and their managers would make side deals just to be able to have them a few days in Hawaii, and then they'd bounce. And so then I was meeting those managers and tour managers, and it just built from there, and then still doing clubs, and then flying, making more relationships, was wanting to, like, there's a lot of talented people in Hawaii. Maybe I can open a door. So that's when I started recording and trying to bring in or give everybody an opportunity for all these resources I had. I didn't want to be on top. I didn't want to be the best DJ or the turntablist or anything like that. It was just I naturally fell into things that I knew that I could open doors for other people. And I met a lot of people in Hawaii that to this day they're still DJing, they still love what they do, whether it's a smaller part of their life, they're still involved, which I've seen a lot better than people from the mainland. Were in the mainland LA, a lot of them just disappeared, and became, regular family man or family woman. Their life changed. Where in Hawaii, they really believe in, what, they really believe in music and good times.
So when you were you met up with Matt Grimm and became part of like the Grimm brothers, it was Matt and some kid Michael,
Mike?
I want to say.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah. Mike
And you.
and yeah. So I was around. They were doing it for a while, and then for me, it wasn't even being a part of what they were. I wasn't the Grimm brothers, but I was around and I was facilitating. Like, I can do this and I can do this, and I was really hyped because it was just like I didn't have to get dirty anymore, and I get to go out and meet fun people every night. So it was Mike and Matt.
And that was probably, I'm going to guess, like 1990, 89, 90?
Yeah, I'd say 90, because I turned 21 in November of, so I was 20. So I wasn't even supposed to be
Wow.
to be able to do that in Los Angeles is I helped them for a little while. How's this? When I moved to LA, I moved into this building in Silver Lake, not Salt Lake, Silver Lake. And it's so funny. So it was a building that I had moved in. Alan Thurman. You remember Alan Thurman from Deep Magazine?
Yeah.
So Deep Magazine.
Well, who's
Alan
Deep Magazine? It was Alan?
and Brian
Brian?
Miyazoda.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he moved in. Another good friend of mine, Sweepy, and his family moved into the same building. Sugar Pop from Pop's Cool Love moved in. Chris Tracula, another guy from Hawaii, moved in. And Matt Grimm moved in with his girlfriend. And so we had a whole building full of these people from Hawaii that were so connected in some way. For about 3 or 4 years, it was all of us at one time. And some of us moved and did things. And we did small projects, and we're just there for each other supportively in Los Angeles. A bunch of people from Hawaii that we would have a really good time, sharing knowledge and early days of video editing and things that we couldn't. There was no YouTube videos for this kind of thing, so you couldn't just learn instantly. Yeah, so it was really nice. But it was all guys from Hawaii, and Matt Graham being there, and he was doing the dungeon parties and the bondage balls here
Yes.
in Los Angeles, and they're
Yeah.
huge. I could not believe how many people were there. And he's like, "Come like the old days, come out and hang out." I was like, "It's like here's a box of flyers," and I'll be out there. I'm like, "Really?"
Putting you to
Okay.
work.
I'll go. I'll check it out. And they were really at Bordner's and the Palace. I think it was a Palace or one of those clubs that changed. And yeah, it was a crazy thing to have all them together. But early days was with Matt Graham and how he changed the whole nightlife in Hawaii. And I remember hearing that there was going to be a radio station back then at 404P. It was always the rumor and the small talk. While I'm digging in records, everybody's talking about this exciting thing that Norm thought up, and everybody's on board. And then it didn't happen until many years later. But yeah, that was the first time. And so we've always kind of been around circles of the same. And what's funny is for years living in Los Angeles, I always was waiting for that call. It's coming back. We're coming back. We're going to do it again, Radio Free. And I'm just like, Carrie Hayashikawa or somebody's had some idea. I'm like, the early Spotify or Pandora, Radio Free could have been that thing. Even the Hawaiian Island Music Report. That was genius, the way people vote. And it brings this presence of music that it's competitive, but it's not like commercial competitive. And so I always had this small fantasy in my head that we get this call and get to come back to Hawaii. And I've always never thought I'd stay this long. I never thought I'd be here. I always thought I'd be here 2-3 years and handle my business, go back home with my knowledge and be around people that I love to be around. I'm so disconnected with LA and Las Vegas, the two places I've worked, is I just never had a connection. I'm here, but I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm in my own world, but I go do things sometimes for a month or two, I won't leave 3 mile radius of where I'm at. Just because I'm just not interested in it anymore. I'm just over it.
I think that's been happening quite a bit. I think we're all getting to that 20-year or 15-year mark. I think the cycle of we've done what we intention to do where we are, and it's just like the perspective is routine. But I've never not lived in Hawaii, and the scenery has changed up quite a bit. There've been just the landscape of radio from where I started in Waipahu. It's just the whole industry is a completely different animal. People have asked me if I thought Radio Free could come back. I mean, it would be easier to vote, but I think what is missed is the connection. It was that commonality of like agreeing that your vote mattered when you would call up. It was so easy to just access everybody. But then again, it was like we were younger. It was a totally different time, and I mean, it would be nice just to bring that mood into the 2020s. Which I think this whole COVID-19 coronavirus thing is doing. It's making or encouraging the IRL via like this kind of conversation, text messaging, and all that kind of stuff. We're doing it. We're in the sense the Radio Free Hawaii thing is happening because we here.
Yeah, you can do it on your own. I had opportunities early on in LA where I was converting whole clothing stores or clothing companies into online presences to help save their business. This is before like the last recession around 2005 or so. And I was meeting these guys you can make a website and you draw it up and you put what you want on to happen on the website and you can have the modules and everything. And every time on the side of my head, I'm like, okay, so this would be the ballot box and then this would be the play. And then we'd have to do this thing with ASCAP. So I figured out how to make a version of Radio Free in my head, but I was just like, I wish somebody would have did it. Because we were the first early adopters to the internet,
It was like
Radio Free Hawaii.
Where was like LavaNet? I remember LavaNet was
we all had email addresses, and you got to use the connections, the dial-up modems, and we were on top of that stuff. It just didn't.
I never got to vote online though. I don't think I ever did because I never had a a personal computer until like many moons later, kind of thing. And besides, there was a ballot box at the office, so I would just fill out my ballot when I was in my
I
palm move.
remember the email ballots would come in. They were in Keith Fujiyama's office. There was a printer there that we all shared,
Mm.
and then all these emails would be coming. I'm like, what is this? You know? And it was so cool because I would also be the guy on a couple. Well, for a few months on and off, I would go around because no one would be able to do it. So I'd
Yeah.
pick up the ballots around the island. I would get in this bug that I bought, and I drove around the island and picked up all the ballots, and then have to include them with the emails. And then Norm would do his magic with the counting and the charts and everything. Everybody thought it was kind of made up because you'd expect it to be with, you know, record labels and music and radio stations. But yeah, it was honest. Couldn't believe it, and it was something really unique.
But everyone was
ballot.
I remember like everybody got their music from the same place. It was like MTV, VH1. If somebody went on vacation somewhere, they were listening to a radio station, either college or commercial, wherever it was. But I remember when people would go on record buying trips, like on vacation and come back. And one of the things that got voted in that was fun, Unchained the DJ, where it'd be like the last 30 minutes of your air shift, you could play whatever you wanted.
Yeah,
and I thought, wow, that's like, that, I mean, that was like really cool. But I was like, you know, I'm already playing music that I want to hear. And I felt like this push and pull, like, that's so greedy to play what I want to hear. I'm forcing you what I want to hear for 30 minutes. And on the other side, I'm like, cool, okay, yeah. You know? All right.
Yeah, you get over the airwaves. It was so magic, turning on the radio and hearing your friends make somebody's day, you know, whether a conversation and that they have. It's now, I believe radio is pretty much, it's a produced entity, right? So it's pre-produced and put it in a time slot where it's less live. I have no idea, but from just my vibes, what I'm getting, so it's a lot different where it's less live interaction. Am I correct now? Is it like a little less interaction, or it's a little more produced now, where the callers are put in?
Both.
It's
I
both.
mean,
Yeah. So I have no idea.
yeah.
I was wondering how, because I know that there's a structure that everybody has to stay with now. It's a super tight structure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if everything got compared to what we were doing then, it's like everything's different. You know, it's just everything is. Well, I mean, even like us having a conversation like this, there's a limit to how long we can have this live, free interaction where other people can be joining us. You know, and even then, it's just whenever there's like any kind of live content, people like grab it and then they edit it to just kind of curate that conversation even further.
I saw the transition leaving Hawaii in around 97, 98, where even the record labels were all changing. And the way business was done was, when I came here, it was a lot, it started to change, where it was more of a corporate structure. Independent DJs didn't matter anymore because they knew that there was something else. And a lot of them started buying each other. And all the big guys started buying the little guys for their publishing because of digital publishing. I didn't know that was going to be the whole game. And when I made music, I just made music to make music. I didn't care about the money. And of course, that was put me in a downfall as far as spending other people's money. You know, when you work on a record project, you're dealing with the record label and other investors and things. So it was like, man, this has got to work. And I was just like, what's going to happen with all these companies changing, all these little guys? And the biggest band, you thought were the biggest band in Hawaii that lives in the mainland. And you go to the mainland and you're seeing them talking about their next job, you know, working as a waiter. You're like, really? That's what you do? I thought you just toured around playing music. It's like, no, it's not always perfect, but this is how you do it in LA. And I was just like, wow, that's such an amazing thing that they're real life people.
So I've always wondered about like people who are entertainers, like the live concerts and the merchandise. That's where the money is, right?
Can be. If you get a 360 deal, they take a chunk even that now. So they take even your digital stuff, your clothing, money, your merch. They take a piece of all that. So truly independent is just doing it all yourself. And no big artists or platinum artists that are platinum's a lot different too, is doing it the same way, or they started off that way and then got picked up by a big publishing house where their music's in video games and it needs to be managed, so it's in many different sources, which it was just too overwhelming for me. I just wanted to make some music and have people enjoy it, whoever was around me, and not have to make any, back to when I was younger, couldn't make money off of music, you know. So yeah, but it did see the change. I actually got to witness it, you know, and see the from analog to digital, for real, you know, to the internet. Just like, wow, just mind blowing.
Yeah, it's the little changes in all industry and just entertainment. It's only when somebody stops down and like asks, like, you know, what do you think about it? Where I'm like, oh, that's a complicated answer. It's really, there's not one size fits all for everything. Because getting back to when you were talking about Radio Free Hawaii, it's just like waiting for that phone call. I remember the second time the station came up, for, you know, right? It was when it, in the mid 1990s. And I remember like talking to Tim, and I was just like really frank. I was like, you really got to sell me on it, because, you know, my heart was broken when it went away, and it was just like, I don't know if I can handle that kind of breakup again, you know? And then so I came back, but it was I guess kind of like the expectation that it would be the same. And I'm like, you know, this is like Pet Sematary. You know, nothing that comes back is going to be the same, except maybe Will and Grace. Like, I think that was like the only thing in recent memory that was like similar, a little bit better. And, you know, but it was like, it's money. It was like, it's the money aspect. You need to spend money to get the money, or you don't make money, you earn money. You have to invest in order for it to come back. And yeah.
But when we were on the second time, it was a lot different, because it was privately funded, but there was also there was not a lot of ads. So like, the power of the ads, we had to depend on Coca-Cola and Budweiser, but then we were also doing trades because of shows. So there was all this mixture, and just to manage all that was just something that didn't get to keep it afloat. And then the station owner who owned the frequency, Mr. Lowe, which he's passed, but for him wanting to have a certain amount of income, and then just seeing these crazy kids on his porch, you know, like running out to do contests and these concerts and things, he's like, he was just like, this is not cool. I don't want this is my radio station, you know, because he had it from the KDO, and the AM station was inside the FMs. They're both together, just separate rooms. And just to see that you have to make a certain amount of money. And I was always coming in there like wondering when it was going to, you know, is this the day? Or it got closer. And when it did happen, I was heartbroken, you know, the second time. And
would you ever try to do it?
Do something similar?
Yeah.
Or radio?
Yeah. Or something. Because I know I know a lot of the people that we worked with then, at different points in our lives since the station went away, have like thought about, you know, we could do this. And I'm like, well, why don't you just, you know, try to do it? And it would be like, oh, you know, it's Norm station. It's like, well, yeah, involve Norm in it, and, you know, find out, you know, how to do it. But like,
yeah, the licensing would be the one thing, being able to broadcast, even on Instagram, where they have big DJs that can go on for 2-3 hours, because they get permission, or they do a licensing deal where they can actually do they can play licensed music for that time. So all their playlists are all submitted, and everybody's paid for playing their music. That's why Instagram, they have an algorithm that finds stuff, and it finds the peaks of certain songs, and it puts it together and identifies. But that's the only thing. It would have to be legit, and it's just a lot of money. ASCAP and BMI and all the other licensing companies, those are the guys who they're doing their job. They're supposed to get the money for these artists.
Yeah. When I just to explain like the money aspect of radio and even like clubs, it's like the BMI ASCAP. This is how musicians, songwriters, just that entire creative, if their name is on, it's like that TLC behind the music, where, you know, it's like put your name on everything so you get paid.
Yeah.
you know, and but I don't. It's like, I don't know. It's just kind of it's frustrating because nobody cares about that. It's just like, I don't care how much money it costs, just do it. It's just like, yeah, okay,
In Hawaii, I happened to be around 2 times when the ASCAP lady showed up at the venue. I just gotten the keys to, like, it was after the factory, so it was Zone 24,
Oh
and
wow.
so I was setting up to open up for the evening, and I get this lady with a briefcase coming. I thought, oh, okay, this is probably some city stuff because they're always trying to get us to get more permits and stuff for doing, a rave party. And it's like, no, we're ASCAP. We're here to make sure you're taking care of your paperwork and your dues and stuff. I'm like, oh, well, you're gonna have to talk to somebody. So, well, you're not gonna be able to open tonight if you don't get this taken care of. I was like, how are you gonna do that? That's crazy. You have to talk to somebody.
I didn't know
Yeah.
nightclubs had to do that too.
Yeah, and later on at the Eggplant, and I got into a big discussion. I'm like, most of the music here is all independent. These are independent artists. We don't have bands, or if we're DJing stuff, it's it's not of the same nature. It was a different type of animal. That nightclub, My Favorite Eggplant. So they did come around to try and get the money, but they're just doing the jobs. Now that I see later, I didn't know what it was about, but it is a huge thing. And every little nightclub, and even if you have a jukebox, you're not supposed to, without having the proper licensing and stuff. You can't just put your own. You have to go through a company.
Yeah. If I were a musician, if I were like the songwriter and kind of thing, that would be like automatic, of course, But as somebody who doesn't create that, it's just like, it doesn't occur. It doesn't occur to people, So that's why it's, on one hand, when people are DJing, and that's why, like, Facebook and Instagram, they're very strict about it because they have to adhere to the laws of that. But is there like a second, like a timing where, like 10 or 15 seconds you can play, like, that's why certain mixes can just stay on and they don't get muted? Or
You're not supposed to do any of it. I mean, they say fair use, but it's a licensed song. I mean, there's someone who takes care of it and makes sure that every time it gets played, and it does add up. I got a friend who, Richard Dashit, he produced the Rumors album and Tusk and a couple of them. Anyway, on Rumors, he has 1 point. He makes enough money that a normal person's job, just on 1 point of something that sold 100 million records. And I just knew when I would come visit him, and he always have a new car at that same time of the year, I knew he got his check. He had other investments and things, but I was like, he got paid, and he would have some really nice, cool car. And I'm just like, imagine that, just having 1 point on an album of something like Fleetwood Mac Rumors, be able to live your whole life.
I guess, like, part of it too is, like, because I can understand the frustration, because I would love to just play music just on any of my channels, or even like use particular background music. Like on YouTube, it's cool because they have cleared music, as long as you have like the watermark and you use it that way. So that's cool, like after the fact. But I'm surprised, and maybe I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm surprised that if they didn't do some kind of, they bill you, like, what if, like, that would be the answer to it, instead of like pulling your live mixes off, that you would end up getting some kind of like invoice. It's like, holy moly, what is this?
Where you filled it up with $20, and you could DJ for till your $20 ran up, and you have to whatever.
Monty, we could be onto something. We could like do this kind of virtual thing, because like SoundCloud, they allow you to have like your mixes up, and Mixcloud, or whatever those places are. Because I put a couple of MP3s of like my favorite songs, not DJ mixes, but they're full songs, and but I submitted it as one big track, so maybe it didn't recognize it and they didn't pull it yet, kind of thing. But I like that idea, the virtual jukebox, because if DJs did that, if you just like $50, and then maybe people can like Venmo to just kind of offset the cost of that. So that's a great idea.
Yeah. I took my radio show, and I had it on for years. I would say I have about 24 hours of nonstop the listening party, which was my radio show on Radio Free Hawaii. So I recorded them a lot, and so I kept all these DATs and cassettes, mostly DATs, which was digitally recorded off the radio. And I had made a streaming server called an Icecast server, Shoutcast and Icecast, many years ago, and I did it myself until my server kept getting hacked. So then I moved it offline to another server where it was just a rotating playlist where people from all over the world could listen to it. And just, man, I had hundreds of thousands of streams all over the world, and I would get emails asking, when is this going live again? And I was like, this is something from 15 years ago, it's not, or 10 years ago, it's not even around anymore. But they loved the idea of it and thought it was something that was new, that was still happening, and it was fun. But I never paid royalties, and the way I did it was I was using a server in Canada, and they had different laws for copyright. And it was a streaming service, and I did it for just till I thought that no one wanted to hear it anymore. Then I eventually pulled it, and so I want to put it on. I put it on Mixcloud, SoundCloud. Is that SoundCloud? Yeah. And they did pull it because there was some copyrighted stuff on there. You know, you got KRS-One on Jive, they'll pull it. Too Short's on Jive. They're on big labels, they'll pull all that stuff. Eventually,
and by the way,
you know,
I just want to say that all the DJs that I listen to your mixes, and I support everybody who utilizes music, repurposes music to create a new way of introducing music to the masses. That I'm not saying that I want you guys to stop doing that, because that's how I discover new music. But I'm just thinking like how everybody can earn money, because you as a DJ showcasing the music as you do for your audience, for them to like want to deep dive. Because I was listening to a mix, like Aaron Sleep Time's Over. He did a mix of something, and I was just like, what is this track? And he told me what the track was, and I looked it up, and it was I wanted to know what the sample was, and it was like 7 seconds, and I was like, what is this jazz thing? And it was Ahmad Jamal, The Awakening. And I was just like, so I ended up listening to this like 7-minute jazz song, and I'm like, oh, I just love this, you know. So yeah, so DJs keep doing, you know, I support that, but I want everybody to get paid. I want the DJs to get paid. I want the original musicians and songwriters, everybody to earn money. And like for us as consumers to like contribute to that, because no one gets a free ride. It's like, yeah, I wanna somehow be able to do that. And I saw DJ Wizard had made a comment about the larger followers getting flagged for their mixes and stuff. But I think, nobody should be flagged. I don't think so, you know. But there must be a way. There must be a way for everybody to benefit.
It's just Facebook owns Instagram, so they know it's out there, and so much of the background music is not being paid for. It's kind of just a free for all. So eventually it will be all kind of pooled, but they don't want to lose content. I know. I would say 5 years ago, I started DJing on Periscope. Just to kill time.
I love Periscope. Oh, can I say that? I love Periscope, and we're here.
That, but it was fun. I was doing the same thing, but I didn't do it as a facial thing. I'd have my phone and point it towards the records, and I'd do these really sloppy mixes because my stuff was all in vinyl, so it would skip left and right. But it was just fun doing it. There'd be a few hundred people, and it was early on where a lot of people just didn't do it. So, but now is with Instagram, there's so many DJs doing it, and I try and listen to as much as I can because I hear interesting different aspects or different ways to mix a song, or just like I never thought those two songs would be, you know. And most of it I heard from Instagram was just hearing new mixes. Can't listen to everything, but this is a good place for one source. You know, I had watched I forget the name of the artist. It was Qbert scratching and playing beats, and there was an artist on the other, like how you and me are on, and he was painting with his Qbert just scratching. You know, it was like, what the hell's going on? It was the most amazing thing. I'm so happy to live in this time where we can connect like this, and two people can share their art. Yeah.
I wanted to do this on Facebook.
Yeah.
On Facebook, because on the Radio Free, the I Loved Radio Free Hawaii page, because then I would kind of hone it in like specifically with Radio Free stuff, because I know that people might be more familiar with you like specifically with the Rude Funk, and that was something that I had wanted to chat you up about too. But We've covered that in my Hawaii social distancing. And at the same time, it's like I have a tendency when I talk with people, especially people that I know even just a little bit, that once I ask you a question, I don't bring back that question again. And it's just because that's how I'm in real life. I try to just catalog it. So I'm not repeating myself, and you don't get the impression that I don't pay attention.
Oh, I'm
I
the
do.
same way. Sometimes my mind goes thinking about something else, but yeah, I try and focus. And this is my first IG Live anyway, so it's like getting used to where the hole is with the camera. And...
Yeah. Well, even me, because I'm like looking at the camera now, so it's as if I'm like talking with you, but then it's that's just an odd thing. But now, see, and it feels like it's more engaging, right? Feels like I'm really just like, and then
now,
I break eye contact. There you go.
Here's the thing I wanted to show. Since we was talking a lot about Radio Free, this was smuggled out, and I put a few clips on Instagram a few years ago. But let me tell you the background before I tell you what it is. It was in a time when it was just everything. The station was closing, and there were still some people at the station that were part of us to do bill collecting and stuff. And they took the carts, and they had the DAT recording, and they played every single one of the carts they could to record it on the DAT. The only thing is they weren't monitoring the levels. So they were all those great carts from all the artists and stuff from all your guys' IDs
all the
and spots.
and stuff.
So I got this DAT,
Thanks, Celine.
and it's from Radio Free IDs from back then. Keikoa gave it to me many years ago, and this thing has been moved in Vegas and lost. But I do have it, and I wanted to give it to you. I guess I should mail it to you. You got a data copy?
I have actually. Hold, and actually read the comment from Passion.
Jonathan Winters or something. Yeah, I guess a young Jonathan Winters maybe. That's awesome. Passion.
Actually, yeah, because like I have one that says there's a wedding from Dave O'Day. But this is going to be backwards. But it says Kathy. It says Dave and Kathy in San Francisco.
Oh, that's a videotape.
It's
an 8mm.
But I think this was when we had gone to San Francisco, and we were staying at the it was Rob, Sick Boy, Ursula, me, Tim, Rico, tattooist Rico, and we had met up with we're just in San Francisco. I think we started in LA and we drove through the night to San Francisco. I think this is the one. Oh wait, Surf into Summer. Surf into Summer Radio Free Hawaii stuff. And again, why am I showing it to you? It is backwards.
It just shows that there's some kind of writing on it. I'm gonna do a pass on it. I'm gonna do a transfer, and then I'll send this to you. So
see,
somebody can have it.
Wait, do you have a DAT player?
I do. I have everything. I try and keep one of everything. Cassette, DAT.
See, another thing I was gonna do. See, and again, it would just be Radio Free. It would just because it's only Radio Free Hawaii stuff. It's just like me and Kainani.
Oh yeah, that's at our old house.
Yeah, up Mott Smith. And
I wish I would have brought some pictures. I got more.
No, I don't, and I don't have pictures. I think, and this is that trip. It's like
oh, that's great.
That's Tim, me, and Rico at the end. Yeah. I wasn't planning on like because I don't have a lot of pictures. I shredded so many things. Hi, Joe. No, high school stuff.
Yeah, I wish I would have video recorded more that era. It was just wasn't available, you know. The video cameras.
But I wouldn't even think to when I hear some of the stuff because Sean Speedy Lopez, he's somebody that he kept a lot. He took so many pictures because he was into photography, so he had pictures and he has like audio. And check out B-Side Honolulu. We have a minute left on this. But actually, this is like the closest
This is the one. That's from K-Cola. He's in here. The dat tape I'm going to send you.
Okay. We could totally. We should do this again. Well, we can do this again. But it eats into both of our work hours because we're both working. You know?
I don't think my boss will be upset, so I can do it anytime.
Okay.
I don't think my boss would be so upset.
How do you feel about that, Monty? I feel okay, Monty. It's
Go for it.
Well, I appreciate you chatting with me. I got 30 seconds, but this I'm gonna record it and just edit it down. It's gonna be edited. Yeah.
Nice.
Because we started getting kind of,
it.
getting kind of not political, but how do I really feel? Oh, maybe I say that and people go back and watch it. Keep watching, kids.
That's awesome. This is how I really feel.